Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, please email me, Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions regarding this watch. Today we're discussing a 2019 limited edition of 500 pieces in steel from Panerai. This is the Submersible Verde Militare, the PAM01055, a 42mm submersible with a green dial and remarkably compact dimensions for something that has a lot of presence and a lot of personality. So 42 is the diameter, surprisingly svelte at 13.3 millimeters thick, but it is broad at 51.6 millimeters lug-to-lug with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. We'll throw this on my wrist, which is 16 centimeters circumference. And I admit it does wear like a large watch, principally because of the broad lugs, but it's a thin watch too, so surprisingly it will fit underneath most wrist cuffs. I would say it's fine for a wrist my size or larger, so let's say 16 centimeters circumference and up, maybe 15. I'll let you decide. Here's your down the barrel angle. Here's your over the top. But it is very comfortable. Panerai military green or olive green strap. We've got a little bit of a bellows for flexibility and hollow on the underside to let the wrist breathe. As with many Panerai watches, we have a large satin finished steel trapezoidal pin buckle. And you can see that there are some premium features here that lesser Panerai watches don't enjoy, such as a screwed in case back. And then we have the quick release lug system where you depress this and then you use the tool to push the bar out. So it's a very secure system and one that also prevents you from having to risk your skill with a screwdriver next to the lugs. And of course, this is not a spring bar setup. So between the screwed in case back that is not a snapback and the more premium lug release system, this watch has a little bit of an aura of premium quality to it. 300-meter water resistance. It is a submersible after all. V is the code for 2019. Panerai still alphanumeric. You can see from the bottom how the locking lever of the crown works. It has a little bearing in it called the roller. And so that makes for very smooth action as the cam locks the crown down. And you can see how it compresses the crown seal, but you don't have to thread the stem through that seal again and again and again, which is why this system, which was originally conceived in the 40s and implemented in the 50s, was originally used on Panerai watches that were manual wind because you would have to constantly rewind and reset them. So the less wear and tear you could put on the crown assembly and the stem assembly and the seals of that assembly, the better. And of course, originally the cases would have used Rolex Oyster crowns because Rolex made the original Panerai 3646 combat watches. So after that era had passed, Panerai began to use this patented compression system. It's also easier to access it when your hands are wet, sweaty, or gloved because you can flip the lever up, whereas a screw-down crown can get quite tight. It's also hard to jump in the water with your crown unlocked because this is hard to miss, whereas a crown that's screwed out 2 or 3 turns can be difficult to pick up before it's too late. Now, the crown guard structure itself is iconic. I could cover the whole watch and you know what brand and what model line. It's a Luminor Submersible. The action is quite refined. It doesn't feel coarse at all and actually gives you more protection than a standard crown guard, since a crown guard that only has shoulders can't protect you from a perpendicular hit, whereas this can. The bezel has an incredibly chunky and positive action. It's a 60 click. This, along with the Doxa sub series, probably the loudest and sharpest diving bezel you can find. It really does make itself felt and heard. But there's a pleasing mechanical aspect to that. Just like a sharp column wheel in a chronograph, a chunky dive bezel can really make a watch. We do have plenty of luminescence, no shortage in that regard. Well, you don't see the name Luminor anywhere on the dial. It is a Luminor at heart. And you can see that the bezel pearl and the minute hand are blue, so you can quickly distinguish them from each other for at-a-glance timing or timing approximation while you are diving. You'll also note that the small seconds is luminescent, which is nice because you know if your backup dive timer is running. Green dial, that's the whole Verde part. You can see this is not a sandwich dial, but it is an applique dial with applique indices. It's an upscale look. The date disc is green, which matches the dial. That is great. You want your date disc to match the dial. We do have a quick set system for the date, and at least this variant of the Panerai P900 does have hacking seconds. Flip it all over. You can't see the movement, but inside it's a Valfleurier designed P900 Panerai caliber. Single barrel, 72-hour power reserve, It has a beat rate of 4 hertz, 25 joules. It's got the stop seconds, the quick set action, and it is quite tough. It is a robust architecture. Vaude is sort of a movement, I would call them sort of like a movement supplement. They are a operation inside of Richemont that provides supplementary engineering services to other brands as varied as Piaget, Cartier, IWC, Panerai, and Baume & Mercier. And so that's what's inside. It is just as Omegas are powered by ETA calibers designed for Omega by ETA. These are calibers designed for Panerai by Vaude. You can see the image of the Italian Navy combat swimmers. Of course, Florence, 1860. That's when Panerai was originally founded in Italy as a shop for selling watches and clocks. Later on, it would begin to manufacture products for Italian national defense, and watches became one of those products eventually during the 1930s. But this is the manned torpedo that was used during World War II by Italian combat swimmers. We're not going to get into the politics of all that, but people do ask me frequently, and I'm only saying this because it happens a lot, did they blow themselves up? No, they were not supposed to ride the torpedo into the side of a battleship and blow it up. It would be mounted by magnets on the hull and a timer would be set. Ideally, you swim back to the submarine that launches you and you get away. It is not kamikaze. It is not a suicide mission. At least that's not how it's intended. Again, 72-hour power reserve, so it's got a nice 3-day autonomy off the wrist. The watch is all satin finish, which is a good utilitarian look. There are only a few polished highlights. You can see the little marks on the bezel as well as the outer knurling. It's a good-looking watch all around and iconic of Panerai. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.